On the morning of March 13, 2026, plainclothes officers swept through 3 major Indian airports. Within minutes, the cuffs went on. The operation was executed by the NIA, or National Investigation Agency, India's Central Counter-Terrorism Law Enforcement Task Force. They quietly detained 8 foreign nationals, 7 Ukrainians and 1 American. The American was Matthew Aaron Van Dyke. He carried no business itineraries or tourist guidebooks. Van Dyke is a combat veteran. He began as a war correspondent before taking up arms in the Libyan Revolution. From North Africa, his path eventually led to Eastern Europe, where he and the 7 other detained men enlisted in the Ukrainian military. These men carried years of active frontline experience into the quiet, mountainous state of Mizoram in northeast India. But the Indian government had no idea they were there until a highly classified tip-off arrived on their desks, sent directly from Moscow. Mizoram shares a deep, 510-kilometer stretch of border with Myanmar. It is a dense, highly isolated terrain. Instead of conventional firearms, the NIA alleges these men smuggled expertise into the jungle. In remote camps, they trained local insurgent groups in modern asymmetric warfare, a type of conflict where a smaller force uses unconventional tactics to fight a much larger, well-equipped military. The first phase of their curriculum involved commercial technology. They taught these groups how to take standard $500 hobbyist quadcopters and re-engineer them to carry and drop lethal grenade payloads. The training then advanced to signal jamming, the practice of transmitting radio frequencies that overpower and disrupt an enemy's communication and radar systems, and utilizing modular electronic components sourced from Europe to build untraceable aerial surveillance networks. In military strategy, this is called force multiplication, using a specific tool or tactic to make a small team hit with the impact of a massive battalion. When a cheap piece of plastic can disable a $1 million armored tank, the knowledge of how to build it becomes the most dangerous weapon in the jungle. The Indian intelligence apparatus did not uncover this remote training camp on its own. The coordinates and identities of the men were handed to New Delhi in a fully loaded dossier compiled by the SVR, Russia's external intelligence agency. Russian intelligence maintains extensive global watch lists of foreign fighters who have operated in the Eastern European theater. When Van Dyke and his Ukrainian counterparts moved toward India's sensitive northeastern border, Moscow tracked their every step. Handing over this information served precise strategic goals for the Kremlin. First, it deeply embarrassed Western intelligence networks by catching their citizens running unsanctioned operations. Second, it injected immediate diplomatic friction into the growing partnership between Washington and New Delhi. But the timing reveals a third motive. Western capitals are currently applying immense pressure on India to distance itself from Russian energy and defense contracts. By delivering a high-value geopolitical threat wrapped in a neat package, Moscow weaponized its surveillance capabilities to send New Delhi a very specific message. In the invisible shadow wars of the 21st century, Russia is the power actively protecting India's borders. Yet, international espionage is only half of this equation. To reach the jungle, these highly trained combatants simply walked through a glaring vulnerability in Indian domestic policy. Under federal law, foreign nationals must obtain a restricted area permit to enter Mizoram. Between June and December 2024, a pipeline of 2,000 foreign nationals flowed into Mizoram. Standard passport scanners registered these arrivals, but the permit verification checkpoint recorded absolute zero activity. The requirement operates entirely on an honor system. The 8 operatives understood this bureaucratic blind spot. They flew on standard domestic routes, bypassed the unmonitored checkpoints, and checked into local hotels without facing a single question. A security protocol that relies on the compliance of the traveler is a gate with no wall. It successfully deters the honest tourist, but offers absolutely no resistance to a determined, well-trained military operative. Today, Matthew Van Dyke remains in an Indian holding cell. The United States Embassy has declined to comment on the arrest of an American citizen, while the Ukrainian government is formally filing diplomatic notes. India currently commands a $75 billion annual defense budget and operates an advanced space program. It is an aspiring superpower. Yet, local authorities relied entirely on the intelligence apparatus of a foreign rival to secure their own backyard. Closing this gap requires an immediate shift away from paper-based checkpoints. A digital-first border relies on biometric entry, using fingerprint and facial recognition scammers, paired with AI visa profiling, which uses machine learning to flag suspicious travel patterns before a suspect even boards a plane. But fixing the perimeter does not erase what has already slipped through. The 8 instructors are in custody, but the lethal tactical knowledge they transferred over the past year is still active and evolving in the jungle. These 8 arrests leave a lingering uncertainty about how many more mercenaries are currently walking those hidden paths. Ultimately, India must decide if the Kremlin's dossier was a genuine act of protection or a strategic trap designed to pull New Delhi further into Moscow's orbit.